Alrighty, so let's work on our next item in this week 2, which is basic page interaction. We learn a lot of good stuff around JavaScript. Its fundamental thing that we use JavaScript for is anytime you're interacting with the page, there's code, JavaScript code that's handling that 98% of the time. So that's what you're going to get introduced to this week, so let's get started. So I have the instruction up already, and I've already done the first step, so I'll just show you what it looks like. And then I also have 2 live servers for some reason running, but there we go. So what you want to have here is in that W2 folder in your private repo, you're going to create a new file, the app2-1.js, and copy all that app.js into it, and then open it and delete all that's in the app.js except that first line, that first console.log, and then remove the defer, and then do your git commit. So just to show you what mine looks like, there's my app, there's my old one that I just got rid of, meaning it's no longer in there, and in my index I removed the defer. Okay, so let's start here. So for us to interact on the page, we have to have ways to reach into the DOM. And the DOM is a document object model, but for now you can just think about it as the resulting rendered page of the browser reading our HTML, our CSS, and our JavaScript. And so what we want to have is items we can interact with. Now we could interact with any of the stuff that we have on there, but we're going to build a couple of new things to do that. So here in your index, let's create a new line. Now in HTML, and this is just good to know, if I do command /, that is a comment. I'm not sure why I threw it over, but so in this case, we're going to add a couple of things, right? So if I go look, and actually we'll come back to the comments. We'll just go ahead and add them. So if I hit P tab, that tab, that does P, which is a paragraph. And so when we write like this, there are ways in JavaScript to select it, but we want a specific direct way. And so we say ID equal. Okay, so we're going to give it a specific ID so that we can reference that. Now we're going to find other ways that we do this in JavaScript going forward, and this is but one of those ways. Okay, so in this case we're going to give it a actual ID. Okay, and this has to be unique on the page. Okay, so this is our output message. Okay, and then, and actually here we have no content yet, right? So if we'd had content, we could just say something like, let's just do this, will be updated on click. Okay, or on button click, maybe, just to give it so that you get what we're going to be doing. Okay, so now we're going to add a button. And then I'm going to hit tab. And again, we're going to give it an ID for now, right? And so on this one, we're going to call it update-button. Okay. And now here, just like what we did up here, but this content between the opening and closing button is going to be whatever the user sees when they click, when the button is rendered. So click here maybe. Okay. So now what we can do is at least go look at our rendered page, our DOM, right? So to see that, will be updated on button click. Right now it's not, but that does show us our button, which is great. Okay, so that's our first part of what we wanted to do. And now, right, I'm just going to add a little bit of content in our index so that we remember if we ever needed to later, right? Cool, right? So that's our paragraph, and then our button with an ID. I guess I could have done this so I didn't have to look. Oh, yeah, and so command /, by the way, the other way you can do this is you do edit. You just insert a toggle line comment. So in that case, you can just, and that's how I did it. I'm on a Mac, so my command // does it. And then I have some now comments in addition to those new elements. Okay, So now what we're going to do is, now that we have these elements, now we're going to write code in our JavaScript to reference those elements by their unique ID. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this so that we go over to here. So this is our part 1, right? So we're going to go ahead and, just to make my life maybe and your life a little easier, we'll go ahead and put this in here, because what we're about to write you'll see written in different places in the code, and I'll talk about something related to this that's really important to understand. But let's just go ahead and write it. So we're going to say const, and we're going to say message display element, okay, equals document. Now, this is a very long variable name. Well, actually, it depends on what you're comparing it to, but it tells you what it is. It's the message display element content. Okay, so the message that we're talking about, right? So the message on the P element. So now we're going to say what, and this is a variable. That variable is stored in what we call global scope. I'll have some research for you to do around understanding scope. But now what we're going to do is, remember I talked about document, what that represented. So we're going to do dot. So this is a method on document. Get element by, and in this case you can't see the rest of it, but this is, and I'm going to move this over just a little bit. So what it's saying is, okay, whatever I'm going to store in here, I'm going to look at the document, I'm going to get its specific element ID, and now I specified that output, or that ID that I provided, or I gave it, which was output message. Okay? So if I came over to my output now, I went to my source, I went to my app.js, I'd go, okay, I see that there. And I could set my breakpoint. I could hit refresh. It stops here. And when it runs, now at this point, notice again, my page went away. And if I hit step, right, if I hit step into this, and I roll back, right now it's going to be null. And null means basically nothing. There's nothing in there, which we were like, wait a minute, we wrote this correctly. And this is going to bring back the idea of the script defer attribute, okay? So this is why I just wanted you for now to delete it so that you can see, in this case, start to maybe better understand why we need it. And this is because, as I previewed before, we're trying to run some JavaScript to reference something on the DOM that's not there yet. See, it's physically not there yet. So when this runs, which at this point it has, okay, there's nothing in there. So that's why you have to have defer here. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our other one so we can look at both of them. So in addition to the message, we also know we're going to have another in this case, variable setup for update button. Again, camel case here. Document dot get element by ID. Okay, now in this case we said update button. Okay. And did I put a, I did. Okay, so now we have two, so we can actually look at both of them, and I'm going to show you another way to see them in the page. So we'll go ahead and let that run. We'll hit a refresh. I still have my breakpoint. I'll hit tab, hit step and step. And so now at this point, and notice now when I roll over, because I included the script tag, when I roll over the message display element, it actually highlights that place in the DOM, in the web page, that represents that. And the update button then represents that button. So these variables, right, we're doing const here because we're not going to change them. These variables then represent those places in the DOM that we're going to write code to interact, right? We're going to reference these. Okay, so that's our first part. Let's see. We'll also include this. Okay, so now we have some content that helps us understand the code that we're writing. Okay, so we're going to write a few more variables and then we'll pick it up on another one, because the other thing we're going to do is say let user name equal and put your name, right? Now, This is again talking about scope, and I'm bringing up scope because we're going to, by the end of this lesson, actually write a function, and it's going to be a little preview, block scoped. And that scope will be different than what we're writing here, which is in the global scope, okay? And there's reasons to put things in the global scope, and there's reasons not to, and you'll learn about those as we move through. So we're going to name another variable, click count, and this is going to be equal to 0. Okay, so now this is, and in this case I believe I have this in the instruction, right? Oh yeah, actually I did. I actually included this other comment. Let's see if it shows up because I did modify this, right? Okay, so then these variables, right? These variables right here. And I always like to sometimes give a little bit of a space. So we have, in this case, this could be something you start to get used to. We have, we're using let. We're giving a username a string. So this data type for this variable is a string. We're doing another variable, click count. That data type is just number. Okay, they're out in the global scope. Again, a matter of fact, let's just go look at, because I think I have you here on this one. Oh, I got to fix those. So here are your two prompts that I want you to research. So help me understand what the defer attribute does in your script tag. We've already learned about it, but you need to learn more. And then explain scope in JS, right? These are important things to understand because we're going to build on them in the next one. So go ahead and do your get workflow, defer and select HTML elements, and then we'll move on to actually writing our first function. Fun stuff. See you in a bit.